mailing list Srila Gurudev's, a couple of his many lectures where he talked about treating the books as Shiksha Guru. He said, actually, me and all of the predecessor gurus are personally present in the books, and in fact, they're not books at all. So when you read, he said, you should take the book and put it on your head and your heart, and then pray, "Oh Prabhu, you are not a book. You are Srila Gurudev yourself. If it's Rai Ramanand Sambad, then you are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu yourself. You are Rai Ramananda yourself. Here I am, sitting on the banks of the Godavari, and you're personally speaking to you, to me. All of you, please shower your mercy upon me, or us if we're in a group, so that I can realize, or so that we can realize all the instructions that you're personally giving us, so that we get full doubt in the material world and full faith in the reality and entrance into the reality of what you're telling us." In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that Srimad Bhagavatam is the reality, distinguished from the illusion for the welfare of all, and such truth uproots the threefold miseries. So how powerful these books are. We wanted to have for you some handouts. If they don't come during this time, then we'll pass it out in the next book distribution seminar. One of them is selected quotes from Srila Gurudev about his desires for his followers to distribute his books. For example, "I don't want my books to remain in cold storage. As soon as they are printed, they should immediately be distributed and reprinted." Then he said another time, "But we'll have the handouts, and not only that, we hope that in our next meeting, we'll have the book that's completely chock full of hundreds of Srila Gurudev's excerpts about his desire for all of his followers to distribute his books." So he said at the time of our Srila Prabhupada, the devotees had no shyness. They would go to seaports, airports, everywhere in the streets, chanting Sri Krishna Chaitanya and giving out books. He said, "I want to see the same enthusiasm now, where they would give out millions of books, but I don't see that same enthusiasm. I think my disciples are not so qualified." So he's wanting that same qualification. And there are many, many quotes which we'll pass out. Also, there's a website called gvpbookdistribution.com. And on that website, Vasani's going to pass out my card, which has that website on it, if any of you don't already have that access. So on this website, you'll find about 12 videos and audio lectures of some of the many, many lectures that Srila Gurudev gave about book distribution. For example, on one of them, he says, "When I give a lecture, my words may evaporate into the sky, but what comes as documents," he was at that time writing Ujjvala Nilamani, "documents like Chaitanya Charitamrita and this book, that will guide us for millions of years, forever. They will remain and be our guides." So on that website, you'll find about 12 such videos and audio lectures about the fact that he wants us to distribute books, and also the moods Like Alexander Prabhu asked me to speak about the doubts that come up, the fears that come up. What if somebody's mean to me and they make me feel bad and then I don't want to do it anymore? Or what if somebody just says no and then I get discouraged? So on one of these videos, Srila Gurudev is telling the story, which I think many of you know, about the sage and the scorpion. The sage saw a scorpion drowning in the river, so he picked it up, and a scorpion being a scorpion, he bit the sage in the hand, and he dropped the scorpion by accident. The Santi is going to give out some of these quotes. Is that right? And so then he felt the pain from the scorpion, but still he picked up the scorpion again to save him from drowning. And again the scorpion bit him. So after a few times, his friend sage said to him, you know, you're just wasting your time. You're trying to help this scorpion, and he's just biting you. Why don't you just let him drown? So the sage said, no, he's actually my guru, because he's teaching me, never change your nature, no matter what. Even though I'm trying to help him, he's not changing his nature as a scorpion. So why should I change my nature as a sage to try to help him? So these are some of the videos of Srila Gurudev there. And then there's about 20 or 30 videos of different devotees speaking about their experiences, like Chandramukhi's there. She's speaking about how to deal with rejection. Then you see the Gangamatas, they're also giving an interview. And then you also see them right on the trains when they're making their announcements, holding up the books, making their announcements. And then as soon as the train starts, they're going and giving out the books and collecting donations, because it's too loud at that point to say anything. So many, many videos of devotees in different circumstances. One of them is your god sister Gaurangi, who's a what do you call that, hair stylist? She has a salon in Alachua. And as she's cutting their hair, she's preaching to them and giving out books. So she's also videoed. So about 12 videos of Gurudev and about 20 or 30 of the devotees there. Also, hundreds of Srila Gurudev's quotes, the history of book distribution in terms of Jiva Goswami, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and how they distributed and published books. And even quotes about how Srimati Radhika distributes books. How? In Gopi Geet, verse 9, she's saying that no one should ever hear the message of Krishna. We're the perfect examples how somebody hears the message of Krishna, especially from Krishna himself, and then their entire lives are ruined. They become like birds without any home, just living in the forest and weeping. And if anybody comes up to you with a Srimad Bhagavatam under his arm and says, come on, no price, take the book and here, just give him a donation and go away. Don't take the book, otherwise you'll end up just like us. So Gurudev said even Srimati Radhika and Vyasadeva are distributing books. So, as we know, we've heard from Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev to be Shastra Chaksus, that is to see through the eyes of Shastra, who are our eyes, not through the eyes of these eyes, which are just like peacock feathers, very pretty and attractive, but can't see anything. So, to answer Alexander Prabhu's request about the doubt when people say no and then discourage us, it's a perfect opportunity to be Shastra Chaksus. How? I have to force myself, which I don't do if I'm just sitting in the airport waiting for a plane and I'm seeing people pass by, then it's just I'm totally on the mental plane. oh, this is the wife, and she's taller than the husband. I wonder if he's going to keep staying with her. Look at that bag, and look how silly she looks going through the bag. And Ram Ram Hari Hari. But when I'm distributing books, it's a totally different ballgame. That is, I was once at the airport in New York City, and I was right in the middle in the lobby, and there were staircases going up and down, and escalators going up and down to and from this midway lobby. And then there was also runways going to the planes, and people coming in and out. So what was on my mind was how they're just here in this human form of life for a moment. Like the Bhagavatam says, it's a bubble. Bubble in the human form of life for a moment, and then pops and goes back into the ocean of material existence of any species of life. So I'm not saying I had realization to actually see their souls, but some special thing comes. Just like when you were watching the movie and there was some special feeling, wasn't there? In hearing the music and seeing the devotees distribute and seeing the glitter which people are attracted to, and then knowing where they're going to become slugs in their next life or trees in their next life. So the similar kind of feeling comes. And Vasanti's talking about a festival, like when we go to Bhakti Fest, Shakti Fest, Moksha Fest, Pran Fest, so on and so forth. There's a festival there. And we didn't put in any energy in making that festival where people come just to do yoga and kirtan and to find out about bhakti. So it's a Bhakti Fest, and we call our books Bhakti Books and Art. But even if not at a festival, when it's Gurudev and Prabhupada, as you see in this slide behind, you just feel like you're in a festival with them, and all the philosophy just comes to life, and they forget their whole life, and it's just, they become absorbed in the subject matter of the book. And we have full faith that their life is turned at that point from going to lower species of life to going back to Godhead. And even if they have to go to lower species of life, we remember, because so many memories come at the time of book distribution. We remember Gajendra the elephant. In his past life, he was a sage and he committed some offense, so he became an elephant. But even as an elephant, when he was being attacked by the crocodile in the water, he immediately, in distress, started remembering the prayers of his previous life. And so Lord Vishnu came and delivered him. So Prabhupada wrote in the purport, so even if by some chance, even after you're a devotee, or to speak of if you're not, and you're just doing a little bit of connection, some Sakritis, even if you become an animal, still there'll be no loss, because again you'll remember. So it's an all-around wonderful thing. Also, picturing the cover for fear, like, oh, these people look so together, like they're already happy, and like, why am I trying to bother them? So then I picture the cover of the first canto Srimad Bhagavatam with the lotus whirl of Golok Vrindavan, then all the unlimited Vaikuntha planets, then there's one tiny corner of the material world with the Lord breathing in and out universes, then there are unlimited universes, unlimited planets in each universe, and what are these people? Just a dot. Or we mentally take off the beautiful clothes and skin, and we see it's just pus and blood and urine, just like all the scriptures say. As Gurudev says, what is this body? It is made of latrine. 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 So, as Gurudev, Vasanti Dasi mentioned, we all have different natures. And with those natures, like Prabhupada wrote in a letter, use your American intelligence, your American creativity, your American genius, and that's for anybody in any country, to figure it out. Like, one day in 2007, the Bhakti Trust, two of them are here now, they organized a big meeting in San Francisco for how to best structure Srila Gurudev's Sangha, the International Pure Bhakti Yoga Society. So at that time we were in a hotel in San Francisco, and in our email we got something from, what was it called? This kind of thing? Shastra Dan. Dan means charity, and Shastra means Shastra, all the books. And it was about, it showed lots of movies about how ISKCON has this program of sponsorship, rack sponsorship. And they would go with racks, with Prabhupada's books, to different stores. And the store owner would take the rack, and people would either give a donation or just take the book for free. And then every once in a while, some people would be sponsors, financial, and some devotees would put the racks in the stores, and they would all speak and tell their experiences. So we got the idea that, well, let's do that for Srila Gurudev's books. So we just made up this thing called GVP Book Sponsorship. And since then, at least $50,000 to $75,000 worth of books have been distributed. And then from that, we just wrote a list of all the things that the book we wanted to do, and we put that on the website. And one of them was prisons. So that rang like a light bulb in Vasanti, and she started doing research on prisons, and then she put the IPVYS prison program, which we just made up, in all the prison directories, so that the prisoners would be able to look at the directories, tell me if I'm saying anything wrong, and then know that I can write to those people and they'll send me literature and I can get pen pals. So one of the people who came from that, he named himself Rupa. Why? Because first he was in connection with the ISKCON prison ministry, and somehow or other, not by the programs that they were giving in the prisons, but just somehow or other from reading Srila Prabhupada's books and from his past Sukritis and Sanskars, his only desire became to become a follower of Rupa Manjari. So he named himself Rupa. And then he began a program in coordination with the prison program, and we have two members of the prison program here. That is Bimala Didi and Sham Prabhu, her good husband. And they started the Alachua prison program, where they have bake sales, and Adam is also part, Dr. Adam Prabhu in the back. And they put on bake sales to get money to send out these courses that Rupa himself writes from Gurudev's and Prabhupada's books, and over. What? And we'll be showing you next time some of these courses. So he writes the courses called On the Road to Prem, Journey to Prem, and about 150 prisoners are already enrolled, and they get it every month. There are tests, and they share it with their prisoners. And then Sudevi, who's Budara Prabhu's daughter, she sends out newsletters every month with quotes from Gurudev, lectures from Gurudev's, calendars of holy days to follow, and they're following them and they're observing Ekadasi. And next time we'll spend more time talking about the ecstatic prison program. I'll just say for 1 second, one prisoner was named Chris, and they gave him a locker. Why are you laughing? Because she's in so much ecstasy about this, because she became his mother. His name is Chris, and they put him in a work camp, and they gave him a locker, and he opened up the locker, and there were several books of Srila Gurudev in there. So he immediately gobbled them up and read them a few times, and he asked his chaplain who runs the library, Chaplain Library, if there's any more, and she had a few more books of Gurudev's in the library, which was as big as a closet, and then he read all the rest of those, and then Sham started visiting him, and he started writing letters, and then he said, all I want is my Gurudev Srila Narayan Maharaj, and then he finally got out and he joined the Alachua Temple just a few days ago, and he's doing really great. Learning verses, going to the programs.
And learning how to put tilak on straight.
Tom is teaching him. So now, some of the devotees invented the sponsorship program, but, and there's a couple of ways you can take advantage of it, that it gives kickstarts if you want to go to any festival or put your books in any library or just do anything and you're scared to ask people for money or whatever the case may be. So the book sponsorship gives a kickstart where you don't have to worry about how much you get. But whatever it is, the book's cost is already covered. Sometimes the sponsorship, and Brajanath Prabhu, he personally gave $5,000 to the prison program. So that was so merciful of him, and so many people benefited from that. So it gives kickstarts so that there's no anxiety. And also there's something called anxiety-free book distribution, which is going on everywhere in the world, and particularly, Anita invented that name, anxiety-free book distribution, where the book distributors, they go out not worrying about how much money they're making, but they ask for money. But because they also have to pay their train fare and other boga money, if the cost of the books doesn't cover it, the sponsorship program covers it. Just like Yasoda Nandan Prabhu was sponsoring those brahmacharis that you saw in the movies, they live with him and he's sponsoring where they live and their boga. So that also helps them not worry so much. They just have to cover the cost of their books. So there's so many more things to say, but time is running out. So I want to call on some devotees to share. We'll tell more next time, but it's unlimited, as Brajanath Prabhu said, and so we want to call on some devotees. Yasoda Prabhu wants us to talk about money in relation to book distribution, which will pass out those things from Prabhupada and Gurudev, their own statements about that next time. But in the meantime, he's also asked us to talk about grihastas and book distribution. So Srila Prabhupada said a grihasta can make his living on books, on selling books. So there's one grihasta in Vrindavan who goes out, he was from ISKCON, but now he's distributing books, Gurudev's books, 10 hours a day in Delhi at, what do you call those things? Street lights. And he's maintaining him and his wife by that. And then there are grihastas who don't maintain themselves because they're already making their money by other means, like Shivananda Sen Prabhu and his wife, Krishna Mai Didi, and they put out book tables in various festivals, Hindu temples. When the devotees have programs in Hindu temples or festivals, they go to Shakti Fest and Bhakti Fest, and they also distribute books there. I'd like to call for 2 minutes on Sudevi Didi to tell how she's a grihasta with her husband, Kishori Mohan Prabhu, and how they distribute books. Huh? She has no griha, but because she's married.
Actually, we live in the airport.
They live in the airport. And if you could just tell for 2 minutes how you distribute books as you're doing your preaching. And then we want to call on a few others too.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhevach patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. To be honest, we just started distributing Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada's books. It's recent because it's hard for us to travel and carry books. We don't really have luggage space. But when we're in the United States, we have found that the sponsorship program has helped us so much, especially like at any festival like Badger Festival. They come out and they let everyone know if you want to sponsor anyone to distribute books, and we put our names in. And we got sponsored like $600 worth of books. And we were able to travel. And what we do, we go all over, devotee programs, but also New Age yoga studios. We put up a book table, and we do our program. We speak about Bhakti and Gurudev. But then we ask people to please take a look at the book table. They come over and they ask so many questions. They want to know about the books. They want to know about Gurudev. They are in dire need of this knowledge. I just want to tell 2 quick stories for 2 minutes. One was that, and this isn't about this sponsorship program, but it's about the need that people are in for this knowledge. So we were up in Badger, we were really needing to do a program, and no one was up for it. So a group of us got in a car, we got all decorated, nice tilak, straight, and we went driving down to Visalia, and nobody wanted a program. Then we drove to Fresno, nobody wanted a program. So we were really bored, very upset. We went to Hindu temples, knocked on doors, nobody was available. So we were driving back to Badger, and on the way up to Badger there's fruit stands. So we pull over, we need fruit on our way up to Badger. And as we're getting out, we're all, you know, we're us. So we're buying fruit, and a car pulls behind our car. A man jumps out and goes, "There you are! Where have you been?" And the lady gets out of the car, she goes, "Oh, thank God." And these kids get out of the car and they're just looking at us and we're like, "Who are you people?" This man said, "Every weekend we drive up to the mountains because we heard there's a community up there of Hare Krishnas. We've been driving everywhere looking for you." And the wife says, "He makes us all go. It's a family thing. And we drive through the mountains looking for the Hare Krishnas. Where were you?" And then we were like, "Oh, we just wanted to do a program, but we're really tired right now. We're on our way back up." And we told him where it was. And then the first thing he said is, "Do you have any book? Please, do you have any books that you can give us?" And we had some and were able. So even if you dress like a devotee, which is very uncommon, but if you dress like a devotee, people will come up to you and ask you, "What are you doing? What is this? I need this." The other story, very quickly, we were doing a program and it was in Italy. We were sitting on this stage and these people were sitting in chairs and we were doing this outreach program. And all of a sudden this boy comes in and he's shining. He's like 20 years old, and we're sitting on the stage and this boy is glowing like anything. And we looked at each other and we're like, "Do you see that kid?" We're like, "Yeah, oh my God, what's up with him?" So we do our program and immediately we walk up to this boy. "Who are you and what are you doing? Why are you glowing?" And he just kind of looked at us and he laughed and he said, he said, "My father," he said, what, 20 years ago, he got, before the kid was born, he said he got a book. His father got a book, never opened it, put it on the shelf. When this kid, maybe he was about 18, 19 years old, he was looking for something to read. He chose, it was Chaitanya Charitamrita. He took that book and he sat down and he started reading it. And somewhere in there it said something about chanting 64 rounds a day. So that's what he began to do. He never actually met the devotees. He wasn't part of ISKCON or anything. He was just chanting 64 rounds every day and reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. And you could see that he was effulgent and he was looking for devotees. So they were called, Srila Prabhupada, I think he called them time bombs, right? So it may be that people are saying, "No, we don't want it, no, no, no," but you never know what it will spark in someone, even in the future. Someone may seem uninterested, but they'll take it, put it on their shelf, and it might be their children, their grandchildren, or great-grandchildren, but you will have done the greatest service to Jivas by giving these books out, and also the greatest service to Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, and our Guru Varg who have worked so hard to give this knowledge. Haribol.
Thank you, that was beautiful. I want to tell a similar story. I think many of you know Guru Krishna Prabhu. He was a non-devotee, and when he was a teenager, he started thinking that I'm so miserable, is there a God? So he asked his mother. She said, wait a minute. And she took her ladder and climbed up to the top of her Elmira, where she had a Krishna book that she had gotten 20 years before and never read. And she brought that down and gave it to him. And because of his past Sukritis and sanskars, he looked at it and he said, wow, cool, 3 dots under the word. Yeah. And then he became a devotee. So there are so many stories like that, which we'll tell as we go on. I'd like to call on Madan Mohan Prabhu, who's a brand new devotee. Where is he? Shripad Madam Raj's disciple. Is he here? Can you please come up and tell for 2 minutes your story about how you became a devotee?
So, forgive me for my shyness, and my shortcomings in speaking loudly, but following the order of Shamarani DJ, she asked me to speak a little bit tonight about how I ended up in Puri in front of you beautiful devotees tonight. So, first of all, I offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of my Gurudev, Om Vishnu Pashri, Bhaktivedanta Madhu Maharaj, Param Gurudev, and the entire Guru Varga, and all the assembled devotees, obviously. 4.5 years ago, after college, I was living in a small coastal town in Alabama, pretty much in the middle of nowhere. And I picked a spot on a map and decided I'm going to move there. There's even a smaller town in the mountains of the Sierra Nevada range, like 3,000 people. That's it. Like, what are the chances that I'm going to meet anyone special here? But something was being arranged, you know? So, shortly after moving there, I started working as the manager and the booking agent of a 500-person venue, booking live entertainment, conferences, receptions, things of this nature. Basically, my job was to keep the venue booked at all times, keep people coming in the door. And literally the second day I'm working there, this devotee walks in a sari. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, my God, who is this person? Not another crazy hippie. Not today. I'm kind of not, because it's a town, it's Northern California, So, and then she introduced herself as Manjari Devi Dasi. A lot of you may know her. She's great. In retrospect, I think back to that moment that I met her, because everything was kind of a blur for the next 10 minutes, and I realized that's the moment everything changed in my life. I can't even remember what she was asking. I think she wanted to come rent the kitchen for some big program she wanted to do. So she's sitting there speaking, and I stopped her mid-sentence, like really rudely, and I was like, what is this mark on your forehead? Like, she was wearing tilak. And she begins to explain, and I'm so intrigued by this. I'm like, oh my God, And Manjari loves to preach. She's very good at it.